Okay. So,
Problems.
yes, we have a seller who initially agreed to a subject to, if I'm remembering correctly, and they had everything worked out. He sent them one of our contracts and they were super excited, got everything going. They're in escrow. And then just the other day, they said um, they wanted out, basically.
So they're under contract with a good solid sub-2 contract?
It's ours. Yeah,
That's solid.
I know. Solid, solid contract. And I even referenced like all the sections that we had in the contract that states because they were coming to him and they were saying you coerced us, you pushed us, like all the things you made us.
AKA, they have a higher offer somewhere.
Probably, yeah. And that's where my first question was, did you file a memorandum on it yet?
Yeah,
And because I helped him with the contract, but I didn't TC it. So,
yeah. Hold on, let me
but
pause this. Leave off. I'm back,
so
sorry.
the buyers saying that they don't really want to go through it anymore,
Of
that
course
they
not.
were pushed into it, and that he didn't give them their exact asking price, which, yeah, AKA does mean higher offer. But I was just like, sorry, this section says they already signed saying that you didn't coerce them into signing it. And this section says that, this is what breach of contract means and all this other stuff. So, how do you walk somebody through this situation? Because he's got money into the property. He's had expenses already.
Oh, so
But
this happened to me too. I had a property where I'd spent about $1,500 and my partner had marketing fees and things like that already, and the buyers backed out. I offered to let them stay on the property for up to a year before we close, all sorts of stuff, but they didn't want to negotiate. So I have a memorandum. Is there a memorandum on this one or no?
he this is his first creative deal, so he thought that he couldn't file a memorandum even though he has it under contract.
Okay, so he's going to have to lean on Miss List Pendants. Oh, it's under our contract, so he can still file a memorandum now.
And that's what I
Actually,
told him. I said you can still file a memorandum because he has a valid contract.
does he stand to make a lot of money on this deal?
He already
Or is it
has a renter lined up to go into the property.
okay? So how much upfront does he stand to make? Because here's the rub. You can put a memorandum on it if you want to sit on it and retain the right to buy it. But if you actually want to buy it, you can take it to court, right? If the seller has indicated, especially in writing anywhere, that they do not intend to close, that is prima facie evidence, means skip all the way to the end, right? Straight up, no testimony required. That's prima facie evidence that they are intending to breach contract, and you can skip the whole waiting period and cure period and all that stuff and just file a lawsuit right away. What are
Yeah,
you
and
laughing
that's
about? Did I
where
did I freeze up on the video?
no, I just love it because that's like I knew that was going to be the answer, but it's more a matter of like as an investor, he's trying to decide if it's worth going through the situation because this is a sub two deal. So he's all scared that the seller's going to call it deal
Oh
on
yeah.
sale. And I was like, hold on though, they signed the
Did they
addendum.
they signed our sub to addendum, which has a how big of a fine?
Oh, like $50,000 or something like that.
Fifty
I don't
thousand
remember.
dollars in damages if the seller messes with the
Mhm.
sale, messes with it even after closing if they try to get the loan called due on sale.
Mhm.
So that does make it contentious though. And good
Yeah, and
luck getting them
that's
to sign power of attorney. So that is a really good question, right? It's a huge balancing act of it's a sub two deal. They agreed to sell it sub two. Contractually, they're obligated to do that and to sign all the addendums that we require at close of escrow because our purchase contract plus our sub two addendum include that I will sign all necessary agreements to effect the sale of this property as specified. Um, in more words than that, but
yeah.
yeah. Do you want a contentious seller long term? Like how long do they plan to hold the mortgage? Um, one option would be so there's several options. One option would be to file the memorandum and then stop the person from selling to whoever that next person is, and to leave the memorandum on the property until it sells. And then you can either exercise your right to buy pursuant to the terms and conditions, or you can ask for a payoff and say, listen, I'll release my memorandum of contract if you pay me off for 10 grand or 20 grand or 2 grand or 200 grand, whatever it is, right? They pay you, you release your memorandum, but you don't have to release that. You can also sue for specific performance, where again, you may settle for a dollar amount where they pay you off, or you can force them to have basically a judge sign their house over to you in accordance with the rest of the agreement. How much spotlight do you want on a sub-2 transaction? Generally, we try to play low and slow.
Okay, because I think that was where he's wondering if he doesn't want to go through with the deal because he doesn't want to deal with the, tense situation with the seller. What are his alternatives? Because he did have money in the deal already.
Yeah. So I would, and this is what happened to me, and I tried to negotiate with my sellers and they wouldn't have any of it. And so I've got a memorandum filed, and when they go to sell it, I'm going to be there waiting. Because I was willing to negotiate and they wouldn't even call me back. And I said, guys, I spent money, like I was helping you out before. Anyway, long story short.
So you would have taken a payoff from the seller if they would have been okay with that? Like if you would have said, listen, if you just give me this flat fee so I get my money back, then you would have been okay?
Yep. All my time gone and all that stuff, I would have gone, if they really pushed me, I already knew I was willing to negotiate down to my lost time as long as they pay my money back, which was like $1,500. They wouldn't even get on the phone. So I'm like, no, you can't just do this to people. We're under a legally binding contract, so I'm just going to file a memorandum. I don't have enough money to pursue you for 5 to 7 grand. That's the lawsuit price range, 5 to 12 probably. So, if again, I would take the same route. I wouldn't change what I did at all. I'd file my memorandum and say, listen, you're contractually obligated to sell to me. This can go to a lawsuit. Here's a demand letter from an attorney, right? I would pay an attorney to send a demand letter that they perform. I'm being nice and not filing a lawsuit yet, but you're based on this provision and this provision, you are lawfully bound or contractually bound to comply with our arrangement to sell to me on these terms. This is your notice to perform as specified in the contract. Pending a lawsuit, technically. Then I would use that as leverage to communicate with the person and say, listen, it doesn't need to go all the way to blows here, legal blows and costing somebody a bunch of money, because one of us is going to lose and I have the contractual right to win. So that said, that's way messier than I know you have another seller that you want to sell or buyer that you want to sell to. So just pay me off, right? I've got money already sunk into the deal. I've got renters to tell that they can't have the house anymore. And so you need to reimburse expenses and pay for my time. If we do that, and you can do it at closing, because I know there's somebody else waiting in the wings to buy it. So instead of dragging this out for 90 days to 180 days, let's just come to a number now and be done with it. But I'm pretty sure the new number minus the costs that I've incurred are going to put you right back where I am. So we can proceed together. You can pay me off, your choice, or I can file a lawsuit. How do you want to do it? But I can tell you right now, I have a legal document on file with the county recorder's office that does not allow you to sell the property. You cannot sell the property to anybody else except me right now. So just so you know that. So if you want to be in a standstill, we can be at a standstill.
Okay. I like these options. So glad they used our contract.
Yes, thank God. This also happened to Elena and Brian, right? I spent an hour, 45 minutes to an hour on the phone with these two sellers who were trying to change their mind. And I was like, guys, listen, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I know stuff is going to get expensive for everybody before it gets cheaper. It's going to get expensive for
Mhm.
both parties, and then one party's going to win, and then it's going to get real expensive for the other party to pay off the first party's expenses. And
Mhm.
I already know the end of this game because I've seen the contracts, I've seen court cases. So I'm telling you right now, before it gets real expensive, let's have a conversation about how we can make this work. I know the wholesaler had $20,000 to gain. The buyer had a property to buy to gain, and they had like $1,500 a month in like cash flow because they were going to turn it into a short-term rental. So there's a lot of money at stake here. And I'm like, listen, the 1 year profit margin for this alone that they could sue for in damages is like $60,000 between
Mhm.
expenses, court costs, profit, a projected profit, $60,000 on the line. Do you want to pay another $60,000 to lose your house?
Mhm.
Probably not. So I'm not telling you you can't go to an attorney. In fact, I would never discourage somebody from going to an attorney, but I'll remind you of the contract language. Let me read it to you plain and clear, and you tell me what it sounds like.
Mhm.
And I read, what is it, section 9 that has the default and remedies, I believe.
It's it's 10 right now. It could
Okay.
have been 9 back
It
then, but
used to
it's
be
10
9.
now.
I think we inserted a
Yeah.
reserved section. Anyway, but yeah, just walking
Yep.
people through the language, just step by step. Now, so like read one sentence. Okay, so then with this in mind, then the next sentence. It's a
Yeah.
legally binding contract, guys. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yeah. Especially that section at the end where it's like, this is also a voluntary contract. Like you already signed that you're doing this voluntarily. So,
No coercion. And so in a case like this is the one in how many hundred where somebody gets like somewhat combative. And then it's like, I kind of wish I had the seller acknowledgments in addition to the sub to addendum. The sub to addendum is pretty freaking kick butt, but the seller
mhm.
acknowledgments is just like, it
That
seems overkill to
like
me, just
final
over the
thing.
top. Just, I'm selling willingly. I understand it may be under market price. I understand this. I am doing this on purpose. I'm not under coercion. Blah, blah, blah. Just repeat, 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 repeat.
Yeah.
I just don't do it. I haven't done it. If we hit a couple of these cases, I might take a lesson learned and just say, across the board, we're doing these.
Yeah. I definitely, when we do walkthroughs, I'm always just like, listen, I know that we've said this already, but we're just making sure you understand this is what this means. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big help too. Number one, they understand it better. Number two, they have a chance to ask questions, which you've saved a couple of deals doing that. They had a chance to
Mhm.
ask questions because the paperwork is big and scary.
Yeah, you hand somebody like a 16-page contract and it is very intimidating. So,
Why is it so? Why are there so many pages? Attorneys, man, I'll walk you right through it though. Right
so I want to make sure you understand this. This is just saying the same thing 5 different ways.
now, you want to go up a level in like contract review. Use some social engineering. Get them to do you a favor before you start. Have you heard about the whole concept of people are trust people more for whom they've done a favor?
No, this
People
sounds
feel
interesting though.
compelled. Oh, yes, absolutely. People feel they want to believe so badly that they've made a good decision. So if you can get them to help you out, now they've done you a favor. Now they believe you're a good person because they would only help somebody who's worth helping. They would only help a good person, not a bad person. They don't want you to prove
Mm,
them wrong that you're a good person. So they will err in your favor typically if you can get them to do you a favor first. Like, oh, hey, I forgot you act like an idiot, play the dummy. I forgot my pen. Do you have one? Oh, thank you so much. Even that little thing is an anchor in they don't want to have, if they lent a pen to a bad person, that would prove their judgment to be poor. They don't want to prove to themselves that they've
mm,
got poor judgment. So it's crazy. If you're going to have a conversation with a potentially difficult seller, play dumb, get them to ask you or get them to do you a favor right at the beginning of the call. And it makes a difference. It
mhm.
does.